In the late 1960s, if you wanted to buy a two-seat American sports car, you really only had one option: the Chevrolet Corvette with its sleek fiberglass body and its powerful V8 engine. The Corvette had the market cornered since the Ford Thunderbird ditched its two-seat configuration back in 1958. But in February of 1968, something unexpected happened. American Motors Corporation, a company better known for making sensible economy cars, unveiled a car that would go head-to-head with America's sports car icon. And this underdog did it for about $2,000, less than what a Corvette would cost you. We are talking about the AMC AMX, America's forgotten sports car now. For those of you who are unfamiliar with AMC and how they ended up building a performance car in the first place, here is a quick rundown. American Motors Corporation was formed in 1954 from the merger of Nash Motors and Hudson, and throughout the 1950s and most of the 1960s, AMC was all about practicality. They built economy cars like the Rambler that appealed to budget-conscious families. But by the mid-1960s, the automotive landscape had changed dramatically. Muscle cars and pony cars were everywhere. Ford had unleashed the Mustang in 1964, and suddenly every manufacturer was scrambling to capture the youth market. Chevrolet launched the Camaro Pontiac, had the Firebird. Dodge brought out the Challenger, and Plymouth had the Barracuda. Performance was in the air, and AMC, with its economy car image, was getting left in the dust. AMC knew they had a problem. If they didn't do something bold and fast, they were going to be stuck selling sensible sedans to people's grandparents, while the Big Three scooped up all the young buyers. So in 1966, AMC brought a pair of concept cars to the auto show circuit. One was called the AMX, which stood for American Motors Experimental, and it was a sleek two-seat sports car. The other was called the AMX2, which was a four-seat version. Both were styled by the legendary Dick Teague, and the response, especially to the two-seater, was overwhelmingly positive. Now, AMC, being the scrappy underdog, decided to strike while the iron was hot. They fast-tracked both projects into production. The four-seat version became the AMC Javelin, which debuted in September 1967 as AMC's answer to the Mustang and Camaro. But it was the two-seater that would really turn heads. The AMX made its public debut at Daytona International Speedway on February 24, 1968, and it was unlike anything AMC had built before. Now here's where things get interesting. Instead of designing the AMX from scratch, which would have cost a fortune, AMC did something clever. They took the Javelin platform and chopped 12 inches out of the wheelbase right behind the front seats. This created a stubby 97-inch wheelbase, which was 1 inch shorter than the Corvettes. The Mustang had a 108-inch wheelbase, and the Camaro was also 108 inches. So the AMX was significantly more compact. The result was a car that looked like nothing else on American roads. It had a long hood, short deck proportion that was more Hot Wheels toy than production car. The front end featured a bold grille with stacked headlights, while the rear had a fastback roofline, with fixed rear quarter windows that made it technically a coupe. But the AMX wasn't just about looks. AMC knew that if they were going to take on the Corvette, they needed real performance, so they gave buyers three engine options. All V8s first was the base 290 cubic inch V8, making 225 horsepower. Next was the 343 cubic inch engine, producing 280 horsepower. But the top dog was the monster 390 cubic inch big block. This beast featured a forged crankshaft and connecting rods, a 10.2 to 1 compression ratio, and made 315 horsepower and 425 pound-feet of torque. Serious muscle car power in a package weighing around 3,400 pounds. Transmission options included a 4-speed manual as standard or a 3-speed automatic. The AMX also came standard with heavy-duty suspension, reclining bucket seats, wood grain interior trim, and carpeted panels, where the rear seats would have been for those wanting more performance. AMC offered the Go package. This bundle included dual exhaust, power front disc brakes, heavy-duty cooling, a twin grip limited slip differential, upgraded suspension with stiffer springs, E70 by 14, red stripe performance tires, and twin racing stripes. The Go package was available with the 343 or 390 engine now, before the AMX even hit dealer showrooms. AMC pulled off one of the most brilliant marketing stunts in automotive history. They wanted to prove that their new sports car wasn't just a pretty face. It had genuine performance credentials to do this. They enlisted the help of Craig Breedlove, who just happened to be the current land speed record holder at the time, having piloted his Spirit of America jet car to over 600 miles per hour. AMC gave Breedlove 2 specially prepared AMX cars and sent him to Goodyear's test track in San Angelo, Texas, with a simple mission: set as many speed and endurance records as possible. And they only gave him 6 weeks to prepare the cars. The 2 AMX cars that Breedlove received were not stock. The first had a 290 engine bored to 304 cubic inches for Class C records, while the second started with a 390 bored to 397 cubic inches for Class B. Both engines were blueprinted by Traco Engineering, receiving race-spec camshafts, high-rise intake manifolds, larger carburetors, exhaust headers, 8-quart oil pans, and oil coolers. The chassis got heavy-duty springs and shocks, racing wheels, Goodyear racing tires, roll cages, and aerodynamic tweaks, including lowering the front end and adding spoilers on February 4th, 1968, just 3 weeks before the Chicago Auto Show. Craig Breedlove, his wife Lee, and driver Ron Dykes took these AMX cars and demolished the record books, running both continuously for over 24 hours. On Goodyear's 5-mile banked oval, the Class C car averaged 140.79 miles per hour. For 24 hours, the old record was 102 miles per hour. They obliterated it by nearly 40 miles per hour. The Class B car was even more impressive, posting speeds well over 150 miles per hour. When the dust finally settled, the 2 AMX cars had set 14 FIA and USAC certified speed records, and 106 national and international records for endurance, all accomplished before a single production AMX was sold. It was a marketing masterstroke. But Craig Breedlove wasn't done yet. After the record runs in Texas, he took one of the AMX cars to the Bonneville Salt Flats, where he proceeded to hit 189 miles per hour in a USAC sanctioned run, and an unofficial run of over 200 miles per hour. Suddenly, AMC's little sports car had some serious street cred to commemorate these achievements. AMC supposedly built around 50 special Breedlove replica AMX cars, painted in the same red, white, and blue livery that the record cars wore. Although AMC historians debate whether these were actually factory-built or just dealer-modified cars. Either way, they became extremely collectible, so how did the AMX stack up against the Corvette in the real world? Well, on paper, the comparison was interesting. A base AMX with the 290 engine started at around $3,245, while a base Corvette started at around $4,320. So the AMX was about $1,000 cheaper right out of the gate. If you optioned up to the 390 engine, with the Go package you were looking at around $3,681, while a similarly equipped Corvette could easily push past $5,000. So AMC definitely had the price advantage. Performance-wise, the AMX with the 390 engine was no slouch. While AMC never officially published acceleration numbers, road tests showed that a 390-powered AMX with the 4-speed manual could hit 60 miles per hour in around 6 to 6.5 seconds and run the quarter mile in the mid-14-second range at around 95 to 100 miles per hour. Those were respectable numbers that put the AMX in the same ballpark as many of the popular muscle cars of the era. The Corvette was still faster, especially with the big block 427 engine. But the AMX wasn't trying to be a Corvette killer. It was offering performance car thrills to buyers who either couldn't afford a Corvette or wanted something more unique. Handling was where the AMX really shined. That short 97-inch wheelbase gave the car incredibly quick reflexes. The steering was extremely quick, almost too quick for some drivers. Combined with the powerful V8 up front and the short wheelbase, the AMX could be a handful. If you weren't careful, the early 1968 and 69 models used a trunnion-style front suspension, which had some issues, but AMC switched to a more conventional ball joint setup for 1970, which improved things considerably. The AMX could pull impressive skid pad numbers for the era. with some testers reporting around 0.87 G before breaking traction, which was better than many sports cars of the time, including the Porsche 914 and Datsun 240Z. The interior of the AMX was shared with the top-line Javelin SST, which meant it was pretty well equipped for a sports car. Buyers got reclining bucket seats, full carpeting, a wood grain dashboard, plenty of gauges, and generally a nicer interior than you'd expect from AMC. Every AMX also received a serialized dash plaque that showed the production number of that specific car. Although interestingly, these numbers bore no correlation to the actual VIN number. It was a nice touch that made owners feel like they had something special. For 1969, AMC made relatively few changes to the AMX. The most notable update was the addition of the Big Bad color options. These were 3 wild fluorescent paint colors: Big Bad Orange, Big Bad Blue, and Big Bad Green that came with color, matched front and rear bumpers. If you wanted your AMX to stand out in a parking lot, the Big Bad colors were definitely the way to go. These colors were so bright and in your face that they almost looked like they belonged on a toy car, rather than a real production vehicle. But that was exactly the point AMC wanted to make a statement and grab attention. In total, only 358 Big Bad Green AMX cars were built, 405 Big Bad Orange cars, and 309 Big Bad Blue cars, making these some of the rarest and most collectible AMX variants today. 1969 also brought a Hurst shifter as standard equipment on all manual transmission. Equipped AMX cars, which was a nice upgrade. The rest of the car remained largely unchanged, and AMC sold 8,293 AMX cars in 1969, which was the best sales year for the two-seater. Then came 1970, and AMC decided the AMX needed a facelift to keep it fresh. The 1970 model received extensive styling updates, including an elongated front end, a new full-width grille and headlight design, a functional ram air hood that actually worked as part of the Go package, and the car was about 2 inches longer. Overall, the front suspension was completely redesigned, switching from the problematic trunnion setup to a more conventional upper, and a lower control arm arrangement with ball joints. This made the 1970 AMX handle much better and gave it handling characteristics more comparable to other performance cars of the era. The engine lineup remained the same: 293/43 and 390 cubic inch options. But the 1970 models are often considered the best of the breed because of the improved handling and more aggressive styling. The ram air hood on Go package cars actually forced cool air directly into the carburetor, which helped the engine breathe better and maintain power in hot conditions. But 1970 would also be the last year for the true two-seat AMX. By this point, muscle car sales across the entire industry were starting to decline. Insurance companies had begun penalizing high-powered cars with sky-high premiums emissions. Regulations were tightening, and fuel economy was becoming more of a concern. AMC, like many manufacturers, was feeling the squeeze. Production of the 1970 AMX dropped to just 4,195 units, a 50% decrease from the previous year. After 1970, AMC made the decision to discontinue the two-seat AMX and turn the name into a performance package for the 4-seat Javelin starting in 1971. So why didn't the AMX sell better? Despite all its performance credentials and significantly lower price compared to the Corvette. There are a few reasons. First, the AMX suffered from an identity crisis. It wasn't quite a sports car in the European sense, because it still had that distinctly American muscle car look and feel, but it also wasn't a traditional muscle car, because it only had 2 seats. And a short wheelbase buyers who wanted a Corvette generally saved up and bought a Corvette, while buyers who wanted a muscle car usually opted for something with a backseat. Like a Camaro or Javelin. Second, AMC as a brand just didn't have the cachet of Chevrolet, Ford, or Chrysler. No matter how good the AMX was, it was still an AMC, and that badge carried the stigma of economy, cars and appliances on wheels. It was an image problem that AMC struggled with for years. Third, the AMX had some quality control issues. Like many American cars of the era, it was prone to rust, and the build quality could be hit or miss. Additionally, The trunnion front suspension on the 68 and 69 models was genuinely problematic and gave the car a reputation for handling quirks. And fourth, the timing just wasn't quite right. The AMX hit the market right as the muscle car boom was starting to peak. By the time 1970 rolled around, insurance companies were cracking down, emissions regulations were tightening, and the whole performance car market was about to take a nosedive. AMC simply ran out of time to establish the AMX as a viable alternative to the Corvette. In total, AMC built just 19,134 two-seat AMX cars across the 3 model years, 6,725 in 1968, 8,293 in 1969, and 4,116 in 1970. To put that in perspective, Chevrolet built over 38,000 Corvettes in 1968 alone, so the AMX was always a niche player today. The AMX has developed a cult following among collectors, especially the 390, powered cars with the Go package and 4-speed manual transmission. These are considered the most desirable configuration and can fetch impressive prices at auction. The big bad color cars are also highly sought after because of their rarity and eye-catching appearance. A well-restored AMX with the 390 and Go package can easily command $40,000 to $60,000 or more, depending on condition and provenance, while superstock drag racing versions have sold for over $180,000 at major auctions. What makes the AMX special in hindsight is that it represented American motors at their most ambitious and daring. Here was a company that had spent decades building sensible economy cars suddenly going toe-to-toe with the Corvette. It was David versus Goliath, and while AMC didn't win the battle, they earned respect for even trying. The AMX showed that AMC could build a genuine performance car that could run with the best of them, even if it came from Kenosha, Wisconsin, instead of Detroit, Michigan. The AMX also represents a unique moment in automotive history. It was the last gasp of the true two-seat American sports car, before the Corvette monopolized that market for decades after 1970. If you wanted a two-seat American sports car, you bought a Corvette, period. The AMX at least gave buyers an alternative. Even if it was only for 3 short years, the engineering that went into the AMX was also noteworthy. That 390 cubic inch engine was a masterpiece of packaging. AMC managed to create a big displacement V8 with minimal external dimensions and moderate weight, while using common components and machining with their smaller 290 and 343 engines to keep manufacturing costs down. The Society of Automotive Engineers recognized this innovation by naming the AMX the best engineered car of the year in both 1969 and 1970. They specifically cited the innovative one-piece injection molded dashboard for safety, the efficient engine design, and the use of advanced materials like the fiberglass safety padding. Inside the windshield posts, the AMX also proved itself on the drag strip and road courses across America. With factory support, AMC fielded AMX cars in NHRA Superstock and Pro Stock drag racing, where they competed against the best from Chevrolet, Ford, and Chrysler. Notable drivers included Shirley Shahan, known as the Drag-On Lady, and NHRA champion Wally Booth, who raced AMX cars in multiple classes. There was also Herman Lewis, often called the godfather of AMC racing, who won 200 events in his red, white, and blue AMX. The car earned respect in the racing community, even if it didn't achieve massive sales success in showrooms in 1969. AMC even partnered with legendary team owner Roger Penske to campaign AMX and Javelin cars in the Trans Am Road Racing Series, with drivers Mark Donohue and Peter Revson behind the wheel. While the AMX didn't run in Trans Am, the Javelin did, and it used many of the same mechanical components, giving the entire AMC performance lineup credibility. The Javelin would go on to win the Trans Am Championship in 1971, proving that AMC knew how to build cars that could win races. There were also some special edition AMX cars that are incredibly rare today. Besides the Breedlove replicas, there were the Von Piranha AMX cars built by Thoroughbred Motors in Denver, Colorado. An estimated 22 of these highly modified AMX cars were built for select AMC dealerships As ready-made racers for both drag strips and road courses, they featured additional air scoops on the C-pillars to cool the rear brakes, roof-mounted scoops, custom interiors, and other racing modifications. These cars are virtually impossible to find today. Hertz, the rental car company, also had AMX cars in their Rent-A Racer program in select locations alongside Corvette's Shelby Mustangs and Jaguar XKS. While there are no official records of how many AMX cars Hertz ordered, surviving build sheets indicate that at least some AMX cars were delivered to the Hertz fleet. Imagine being able to rent an AMX with the 390 engine for a weekend back in 1968. That would have been an absolute blast. Another unique AMX was the Playmate pink car custom ordered for Playboys. 1968 Playmate of the Year. Angela Dorian, this special 1968 AMX featured a one-off pink paint color coded as 00 on the door tag, indicating a special order color. It came equipped with the 390 engine automatic transmission, the Go package air conditioning, and leather seats. Today, this car is a highly prized piece of automotive and pop culture history. Despite all these special editions, racing successes, and engineering accolades, the AMX remains largely forgotten today. Most people have heard of the Corvette, the Mustang, the Camaro, and the Challenger. But ask the average person about the AMX, and you'll likely get a blank stare. Even among car enthusiasts, the AMX is often overshadowed by AMC's other performance offerings like the Javelin, the Rebel Machine, or the SC Rambler. It's a shame because the AMX deserves to be remembered as a legitimate performance car that punched well above its weight class. If you ever get the chance to see an AMX in person at a car show, take the time to check it out. These cars are rare enough that you might never see another one. The proportions are wild in the best possible way. That long hood and short rear deck give it an aggressive stance that still looks good today. And if you're lucky enough to hear one with the 390 engine fire up, you'll immediately understand why people fell in love with these cars. That big block V8 sounds absolutely glorious. Especially with dual exhausts, the AMX represents everything that was great about American motors. Their willingness to take risks, their engineering creativity in the face of limited budgets, and their desire to compete with the big boys, even when everyone said they couldn't. AMC may be long gone. The company ceased operations in 1988. But the spirit of innovation and audacity that created the AMX lives on in the hearts of enthusiasts who appreciate the underdog. So the next time someone mentions the Corvette as being the only American two-seat sports car, remember that for 3 glorious years from 1968 to 1970, there was an alternative, and it came from the most unlikely source imaginable. The AMX proved that you didn't need a fiberglass body or a prestigious badge to build a legitimate performance car. Sometimes all you needed was a big V8, a short wheelbase, and the guts to go up against an icon. The AMX had the Corvette in its crosshairs, and while it may not have hit the bullseye, it definitely made its mark.